Hello everyone, welcome back to another Knucklepuck video. And today we are doing something a little bit different. Besides playing the game, we are ranking each Forsaken character in, Roblox Forsaken. And these are all the characters, even some unique ones in the middle. And don't mind the extra chance, I accidentally put an extra one in there, but first off, we are going to rank off the very first 007 and 7. I'll just call it 07 and 7 or something like that. But this guy is very good in certain situations. He is able to throw out clones that if he touches, he will be slowed down. And he can also teleport based off like where the farthest spawn from him is. And he's also got one last ability. It can change how the clone can move. So the first one is random. He'll just go in random spots, just aimlessly wandering around. Second one is to the nearest spawn. So basically, if you throw him out, and he will basically go to the nearest spawn that survivors spawn on. And then the last one is cursor point. So basically, wherever your cursor is, they will try their best to get to that location. But after I've used him for a little bit, I have some good skins on him. I say he is very great. I'd say he's great. He's not very mid, but he's great to where it can, be good to like troll some people and stuff. We have Builderman. Builderman is just kind of like that person that stays in the back and just slowly help people by playing down something that'll slow the killer down or heal the survivors. So his first ability is Turret. Turret will basically shoot at the killer within a certain range and will just slow them down by 2 points. They'll get slowness 2 for 3 seconds, and has a little bit of HP, so you need to hit it with 2 shots for it to run out of HP. His second ability is, Dispenser. Dispenser is very great for hiding in a corner of the map where survivors can come over if they're very low, and it will slowly heal them by a little bit at a time, 1 HP per second, and it depends on how many Billermans are, so it will go down in HP every Billerman has built a dispenser. But those two abilities are pretty good, but also he has just a little bit less HP by 90 to 100 compared to the noob we'll be seeing later on. So I'd say this guy is also a great tier because he can still help survivors in quite a bit different ways. Alright, now, time for Chance. Chance is basically just a person who gambles their life away, quite literally. How it works is that he has a coin. The coin has a 50-50 to land on, for example, heads. Let's just imagine heads is bad and tails is good. He has a 50-50 chance to land on heads or tails. Tails will give him 1 charge for each of his abilities if they need it. The heads will give him 1 charge of weakness. So basically, weakness can stack however many times you want. There's even a special little weakness achievement for him if he gets 50 stacks of weakness, which is really lucky but also really unlucky if you think about it. So his other ability is Shoot, or his gun. Basically, he has a 50% chance to shoot, 25% chance to literally do nothing. It would just stand there, just chilling. And then his last his last option is Shoot himself, or a rebound. And he will take 35 damage in the process, not even talking about whatever weakness there is on him. And then his next ability is reroll. Basically, once you have one stack of, your coin flip, you can, do reroll, and it will give you a HP between 50 and 130, which is like 15 more HP points that you can get than like guest. We'll be talking about later. So, yep, he can do that, and how good it is depends on how many stacks he has. So even if you have like 3 stacks of the coin flip, which is the max, you can still get 50 somehow, but it's not as common. And then his last and final ability is Hat Fix. So basically, any like weakness you have on you will immediately perish once you use Hat Fix, but the problem is you need 3 stacks of your coin flip for it to work. And also, if you do end up shooting yourself by the chance of, your gun like going off on you, you can also fix your gun also if that does happen, because you can't use your gun after you shoot yourself. But after this embodiment of a character that is just like literally gambling, I mean, I made one special tier for him, and I'm pretty sure you probably would know what it is. Very controversial, because this guy is very unreliable and very high risk, high reward. But he is still a great character, and you can actually kill the killer with him, which is the funny part, as there's things called shooting squads. But that is chance, and I put him in controversial because that's a special thing I gave him. Alright, next up we have the infamous Elliot. Now, Elliot is a great character because he has pizza, which can support his team, and you can also do gen so that pizza does more heals for more HP. And his second ability is basically called Rush Hour. Every single time you throw out a pizza, you get 1 charge, and the max is 1 charge. Basically, it gives you speed 3 for like 3 seconds, and which gives you enough time to run away from the killer in case of dire moments, like you made a mistake or something like that. Problem is with him is that he has 80 HP instead of 100 compared to Noob, and that's pretty much the only special quality about him that has changed his stats. But him being a super good running away survivor and hiding in the back while also being a battlefield, but also able to heal his fellow survivors, he is a very great star survivor also. So I'd say he's in... The problem is he also is very easily targetable, so I'd say he's in awesome tier. He's not like super crazy, but he is one of the better characters in Forsaken. Next up, we have Guest. Guest is a great support character, or no, he's actually a sentinel character, but he is great at like supporting his fellow survivors, and his first ability is block. Basically, he will throw his hands up and for like 1 second, and if a killer uses any ability that is related to melee attack, it will count as a charge, and he can later use punch, which I will talk about. But if he blocks in a bad way and the killer does not end up hitting his block, then he will be slowed down for quite a bit, and the killer will be able to give a quick slash. Alright, next up we have Charge. Charge is a great ability, and it can knock him off, like killers off of cliffs, or just general like trying to regain some stamina, because the killer will gain like helplessness for like 1 second, and that's pretty much all it does. But problem is, if one guest charges into the killer and one guest charges the killer again, that guest, the one that just charged into him, will take 10 damage. which means that it will take damage if it was too close together when it comes to like both of them charging. So, there's like a 10-minute difference between you can charge the killer again. But he is a great skill-based player that can just, block them all the way. So, I'd say that he is very skill-based, but he can be pretty bad if you don't know how to use him. So, I think he's better than both of them. So, I say he's an upper tier of great. Actually, I could try to... I think Bitterman's better than the 077, so... Nextly, we have Noob, the very starter character that you can just pick up and, well, just go around and just learn how to play the game. Although he is not a great starter character as I've seen, he is hard to kind of use efficiently, but that doesn't mean he's a bad character though. The first ability he has is Bloxicola. When he drinks the Bloxicola, he will gain a speed 1 effect for about 8 to 10 seconds of somewhat. And there is a heavy Bloxicola and a light Bloxicola, which the heavy one you can find around the map, but the one he has is lesser of a Bloxicola and it's more like a quick desperation moments, which he drinks it faster and he is able to walk while using it. So that's what it does. The next ability we have is Slate Skin. Slate Skin is able to give Noob 125 hit points extra, or no, it's 85 hit points extra of HP, or overheal you could say. And it will basically tank any hits that the killer throws at him. But if the timer runs out for Slate Skin and Noob still has Slate Skin, he will get speed. He'll get speed 1 for just like a few seconds. But if the killer does break through it, Noob will not get that speed whatsoever. And his last ability is Ghost Burger. The ability that doesn't seem as great, but can be really good if you use it correctly. Let's just say like an LMS or Last Man Standing. You can use it and the killer will not be able to figure out where you are, which meaning that you will waste their time. But I've seen new players use it as like a mid chase type of item, which is a terrible idea. I don't know why they even do that, but if any new people are watching this, just so you know, do not use Ghost Burger in the middle of your chase. It would most definitely kill you. But yeah, that's all of his abilities. His stats are, really normal. They're just basic. So I'd say if you know how to use him really well, he is in probably awesome tier. So yeah, but I would say Elliot is better than him though. We have a next Sentinel. Basically, he has a sword and chicken. He can use the sword to slash the killer and also gain resistance for just a little bit. If you slash the killer, he stuns the killer, which is really good. But if he misses his sword, then the killer will be able to punish him really easily. So, he's really good around corners and when during chase, where you just swing around and then you just use your sword. But he is a great character to use as a sentinel. But his next ability is Fried Chicken. Basically, the Fried Chicken does is that he will stop in his tracks, mostly stopping in tracks, and he will eat his chicken for 40 HP, but it takes him a long time to eat it, so only use it when you're outside of chase, or when the killer is stunned for something like that. All of his stats are relatively normal, but he is one of the best sentinels out there to reliably use, so I'd say he's in S tier, or crazy tier you could say. Now we're getting onto the old news and, like more news, except just ignore the chance. We don't need to acknowledge him. But the old two-time. This guy was a joke. Not to be offense to anyone who used old two-time, but this guy was the most useless character to the entire team. He had 80 HP, which wasn't really good, and he had no abilities. Literally zero. And the only exponential thing he had was a second life. Basically, if he goes to 0 HP, he will gain speed 2 for 15 seconds, weakness like 4 for like 7 seconds, and then no, actually it's swapped. So weakness for 15 seconds and then speed for like 7 seconds, while also gaining 40 stamina when he goes to second life. That may seem really well, but the problem is he's only at 40 HP, so he only gets 1 extra hit point after he's, well, out of the weakness phase. So that just means that he cannot go the killer whatsoever. All he knows is how to dodge, weave, juke, and do gens. That's pretty much it. So this guy was no help and was an absolute dumpster tier. Just so you know. Now, time for the next one. My personal favorite, the new two-time. This guy is awesome. He is great for grinding money, and overall is the most fun to play out of like most of the survivors. Now, let me know, I'm not going to get too ahead of myself, but his first ability is Dagger. Basically, he can slash out a dagger almost instantly. Like, literally that fast. And the thing is that you can get stabs on the killer. A front stab. And there's a back stab. But let's talk about the front stab. Basically, the front stab, when you stab him, he will get the killer will get a slowness 2 for like 3 seconds. Will lose 20 HP, which isn't as great, but it actually is possible to kill the killer. I'll talk about that a little later. And along with that, you will also get 10 HP, so like lifesteal. But there's one more thing. You will also get a little bit of oblation, which I'll talk about a little later when I'm talking about like ritual, which you'll see. His next ability is Crouch. Basically, Crouch is that he turns a little invisible, and he is not be able to be detected by, like, for example, Arrow 404 or like Blinding Eye or something like that. Now, when comboed with the dagger, he will dash forward and like super far away. He will dash forward with his dagger super far away and end up trying to kill the killer. Or not kill him, but like, hit the killer. And the next ability is Ritual. So he will stab the ground repeatedly in wherever place you want. And when you get enough oblation, that spot that you put it down, that will become your spawn point. And whenever you have enough oblation, aka when you try to stab the killer, you get like a little bit of it, it will activate. The spawn will activate. And whenever you go into your second life, you'll have anything like the old two-time, except you'll be able to spawn farther away or like near the killer in case you're like right next to him when you die. But yeah. Oh yeah, and I forgot to talk about like what the backstab does. Basically, the backstab for the dagger will stun the killer and give you half your bar of oblation, which is really good. So you could definitely save someone by doing that. But this guy is really nice, although his 80 HP takes him down, along with his 40 HP during the second life. But Honestly, if you know how to use him really well, he's probably like an S tier. Definitely. Now, personally, Dusakar isn't as great as he used to be before. He got debuffed heavily when he came out just like 1 day later. And basically what happened was he used to have a overheal with one of his abilities, and he got like debuffed a lot after that. His first ability is called Plasma Beam. Basically, he will swing his staff and have a little like duration before he will shoot out a plasma beam that will either give a survivor a speed boost or give the killer a slowness 2 for like 4 seconds. Now, that's pretty good, and it's easily spammable, and it also gives you a lot of money if you can chain it with the survivor and killer. It doesn't have any like piercing though, so you can't just do like a bunch of people to, you know, pierce. But his next ability is called Force Field, or Spawn Force Field. You will hold out a staff, and you have to play this little mini game that will determine whether you can keep your shield or not. And what the shield does will give the survivor a high amount of resistance for 8 seconds, meaning that you can save them from the killer, but while you're in this little minigame form, while you're trying to keep the survivor on your mouse, you are very slowed, and all you have to do is get out of the minigame is that you have to take your mouse off them, and then you can start running away in case the killer decides like, tasty treat for my time. But either way, since he is very easily targetable because he's really annoying sometimes, so I'd say he's probably in like... he's a very mid, I'd say. He's not very great in the sense, because he's not like that great of a support. I'd much rather just play like Elliot's. He's really hard to play as, but... Lastly, we have Taff, the very last one. This one didn't come out too long ago, but he is definitely one of the survivors that had a huge downfall because people just weren't playing him anymore after like a week or two. But he was one of the most hyped up ones too, or like new survivors and that sort of stuff. But his first ability is Subspace Turbine. Basically, Subspace Turbine, he will get like this little orb inside of it and then throw it out. But its special unique effects that it does was like it explodes within a certain radius and it will give them Subspace 3, which make their screen like very blurry and purple and dark, and also will twist their screen around because why the heck not? But if the killer uses a ranged object like Corrupt Nature from Cool Kid, it will only have Subspace 1, and you can still, you can still like see, and it won't really do much. And that's pretty much it. It'll also give you Helpless if you, on the killer. It'll give the killer Helpless if they don't use a projectile at all. But the problem is, if you're around the Subspace Turbine while the killer is around too, you will also gain the effects exactly. So just be careful of that. His next ability though is Tripwire. Possibly one of the most diverse, type of like traps that he has. Basically, he has a Tripwire. You can put one stake down, and then wherever he moves without like an obstacle in the way, he has infinite Tripwire. But you can go across the map and put the tripwire down and, it will be fine. But the killer can break it, and if the killer does step on it, it will give them slowness. It'll give them like slowness 2 for like 8 seconds, and also reveal any survivor that is within 100 studs of him. Which is really bad because you do not want survivors seeing like, oh, you're over there? Alright. Now, this guy does have 90 less or 10 less HP than the normal noob, so that makes him pretty weak when he's running away without any traps, but with his traps, he can be really annoying sometimes. But either way, he's a pretty solid one, and I'd say he's probably better than... like, these two. Builderman and 077. But either way, let's just put this guy right there, you know? Actually, no. Really good sometimes if you give him the right chance, but, you know. But either way, that is my entire chart of my, my survivors. So, in top tier, we got Shaletsky, the new 2-time, possibly Chance, you know, controversial Chance. In A tier, or awesome tier, we got Elliot, and we got Noob, which those are pretty solid, and pretty good, and pretty reliable. And grade tier, we got Guest, and Taff, Builderman, and 077. These guys are pretty good, these guys are pretty reliable, but sometimes they can be countered sometimes. Now, in the very mid tier, or C tier, I guess you could say, there's Dusakar. Poor, lonely Dusakar. And, you know, it's very easily targetable. These guys aren't, like, super protective of themselves, too, but they're pretty nice, and you can have fun with them still. Now, in the absolute dumpster tier, we got the old 2-time. The one that everyone's been, like, basketball dunking on because of how bad he is. But either way, he used to be, he is now much better and greater. Just so you know. And of course, we got the controversial tier, which is obviously Chance. But either way, I hope you guys enjoyed this tier list video, and I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you later.